Hello Year 4. Today we're going to look at adding fractions, which is Monday's work. So you might have a fraction like 1/5. So the number on the bottom, the denominator is 5, which means you will share something into 5 bits. So if you're going to add 1/5 to 2/5, it's really simple. You just have to say 1/5 add 2/5 equals 3/5. So you are just adding the numbers on the top, the numerators. The common mistake that people make is they say 1/5 add 2/5 equals 3/10. So they add the 1 and the 2 and then they add the 5 and the 5. But because we're adding fifths, we want our answer to be in fifths, because tenths are completely different to fifths. Okay, and if you remember that, it's very simple. So let's have a look at another one. If you had 2/7 and you wanted to add 3/7 to that, all you're asking yourself is, well, how many sevenths have I got in total? 2 and 3 is 5, so you've got 5/7. Okay, so occasionally you might find that if you have something like 5/8 add 3/8, when you add them up, you'll find that the same number is on the top and the bottom. So in other words, you have all your pieces. You have one whole because there are 8/8 in a whole. So if you cut your cake into 8 slices and you had all 8 of them, 5 of them and another 3, you've got your whole cake. Okay. So we're going to look at today's work, which is adding up fractions in pyramids. So I'm just going to quickly draw these pyramid shapes and we'll look at the first one, which is probably the easiest one, and then I'll look at a slightly harder one. So question 1 on page 1 is 4/12, 2/12 and another 2/12. Okay, so all you need to know about these pyramids is that you add the 2 boxes next to each other and you get the answer in the box above. So 4/12 add 2/12 is going to be 6/12. Okay, and then 2/12 add another 2/12 is 4/12. And then to get the top box, you add these two together. So 6 add 4 is 10, so 10/12 is your answer. Okay, so I'm going to pick a different one. So if I pick number 6 from the same sheet, then this one is slightly trickier because they've missed out different boxes. So they've given you 4/10, they've given you 2/10. So immediately we know we're going to know what's in that box. But then the other one they've given you is 9/10. So you can't find that one straight away without working backwards. So let's do what we can do from the bottom line. So 4 add 2 is 6, which gives you 6/10. And then you want to know what one of these boxes is. So you can't go for this one, but you can work out what was in here, because 6/10 add something made 9/10. So you could do 9/10 take away 6/10, but I tend to add upwards. So I'm going to say I know that I need to add 3/10 on to get to 9/10. So 6 and 3 is 9, so that works. So now working backwards again, I'm going to say, well, that total is 3/10. What did I need to add on to my 2/10? And the answer is going to be 1/10. So if we quickly check that, 4 and 2 is 6. 2 and 1 is 3, 6 and 3 is 9, so that's correct. So that's really all you need to know for today's work. Occasionally you might come across something like 11/10, where your number on top, your numerator, is bigger than your denominator. Don't worry about that. That can happen. All it means is you've got more than one. So if you have 10/10 in a whole one, it means you've got one whole one and a tenth. But it doesn't ask you to do anything with that, so just do it as if you're doing the others. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Hello again, and today we're looking at Tuesday's maths. and you will see a picture of a fish tank. Again, there are 3 sheets. It's up to you to choose which one you want to start on. So you might do sheets 1 and 2, or you might do sheets 2 and 3. So on the first sheet you have got 12 fish, and it wants to put them in different tanks. So what it's really asking you to do is to work out all the different fractions that you can make with 12 fish. So the most obvious one to start off with is half of 12. So you know, because it's half, you're splitting into 2 groups. So half of 12 is 6. So you could put 6 fish in 2 tanks, or 6 fish in 1 tank, 6 fish in the other tank. So you're thinking about which other numbers divide into 12. So I know that 3 goes into 12. So I'm going to put 1/3 of 12. So what I'm going to say is how many 3's in 12, and the answer to that is 4. So you're dividing by 3. So to find 1/3 of anything, you divide by 3. So now you could have 3 fish tanks like that. What that means is 3 fish tanks, and in each one there would be 4 fish if I can fit them in. So there'd be 4 in that one, 4 in that one, 4 in that one. So now you need to think about other ways of splitting them. So you could talk about quarters, or you could think about sixths. So you can split them into 6 groups, or you could split them into 12ths. You wouldn't have very many in each tank. So the other thing to think about is you could do something like 2/3. So 2/3 of 12. So you could put 2/3 of the fish in 1 tank and 1/3 in the other. So you could say, right, well, I know that 1/3 of 12 is 4. So 2/3 must be twice as much. So that will be 8. So you could have 8 fish in this tank if you wanted to split them in a different way, and 4 fish in another tank. Okay, so what it's really asking you to do is as many different fractions that you can make with the number 12. So you should end up with a page like this of different fractions. So you could try 3/4, 1/6, you could try 5/12. Okay, have a go. And remember, if you want to find 1/5, you divide by 5. If you want to find 1/3, you divide by 3. Don't try 5th because it won't work. If you want to find 1/12, divide by 12. Okay, that's all you need for today. Okay, okay, so now Wednesday's work is rounding decimals. Now I know we've been talking about fractions, but decimals and fractions they're like brothers and sisters. They're different ways of saying the same thing. So they're both parts of things. So if you see my number line, we have got numbers between 1 and 2, between 2 and 3. So we could count up in fractions, or we could count up in decimals. So today we're looking at decimals, which are the bits in between whole numbers. So here, between 1 and 2, we've got 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9. So you could say 1 and 1/10, 1 and 2/10, 1 and 3/10. So we're counting up in tenths really. But so 1/10 is equal to 0.1. Okay, so if we take a number off the fruit sheet, so say I'm looking at 2.6 on what looks like a banana. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to make the 5 slightly bigger to make my life easier. So 2.6 is here. And what it wants you to do is round it. So it's saying, is 2.6 closer? 2.6 here, is it closer to 2 or is it closer to 3? And as you can see, it's closer to 3. So 2.6 would round to 3. And then the instructions, I've just got my laptop here, say that numbers that round to 3 are yellow. So you would colour that fruit yellow, which makes sense because it's a banana. So let's look at a different one. We've got 3.4. So if I can see 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, so that's the halfway mark at 3.5. So 3.4 is a little bit under halfway, because we know that 0.5 is the halfway mark. And so you know again that 3.4 is going to round down to 3 because it's closer to 3. If it was 3.5, we know from the rounding that we've done, if it ends in a 5, even if it's 0.5, it's always going to go up. So if it's exactly halfway, it always rounds up. But 3.4 is going to round to 3, so that would also be yellow. So let's pick a different number. How about 2.6? Okay, so, oh no, we've done that one, haven't we? Let's try 1.6. I can see, so 1.6 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1.5. So 1.6 would be here. And if you think, well, is it closer to the 2 or is it closer to the 1? It's over halfway, so it's going to round to 2. So anything with a 1.6 on it is going to be coloured red. So all you have to remember is if you end up slap bang in the middle with 0.5, it's going to round up. And if you end up closer to one end than the other, you'll round to the one that's nearest to it. So if it's 2.9, it will round to 3. If you are 3.1, you're closer to the 3, so you would round down to 3. 3.2 would round down to 3. 3.3, round down. 3.4 would round down to 3. 3.5, that's the middle point, they go up. 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. Okay, happy colouring. And I think that's all you need to know. Thank you.